Oh, very
I saw your list. I'm gonna try to work on some of them between now and I signed it inside. There may be a few of them we can substitute for tomorrow, and so we can. I know it's gonna $500. I can't find the capital one that you're looking for. It matches what shows up in the summary in capital, but I can't find the project it goes to. So I found one of them, but not the other one. So I got to get with Teresa and see if I can figure it out. But I hadn't had a lot of time to have a lot to do. So I'll get to what I get to, and what I don't, we'll just amend it next. It's no big deal. No, I'm not going to try to fool the capital, and absolutely not try to fool community development because I didn't even do community development. I called Alexis upstairs
Oh, okay.
to make a fool of that one because it's a mess. Always. Anyway, I'll get there. I tried to get out thinking it would be an easy time to be out of town.
Worst time ever.
Well, that's when it's not. Trying to work on getting police moved and other things. So anyway, I'll appreciate it, and I'll try to get. I'll let you know what I can fix.
Okay.
What I'll try to do is the ones I can fix, I'll send Tanya a new
Tanya a
version
copy.
and say, here, this is the one substitute. Because as long as we get it here before 3
Yeah.
o'clock, it will be the one that's introduced, and there we go.
Exactly. Thank you.
Hello. I ain't got anything that pink. I'm sorry. What color am I supposed to be tomorrow? Pink or purple? Just purple. Purple I might can manage. Yes.
Good afternoon. I gotta sign in. All right. So you know I'm here. All right.
Yes, sir. That's all we need.
I take it you know
That's all I
my
need.
you know my you know my number.
Y'all need an
That would be helpful. I'm having to call it up. I just need one. I can't. Reading two doesn't help me.
Have you signed that? The animal control ordinance? Huh? Well, I'm gonna run it this Friday, because it hadn't been pressed.
Well, I was gonna say, two tin cans and a piece of string worked for a long time.
I mean, that's pretty much all.
Is that effective today? It doesn't have a clause in there, so that's effective.
7 days after.
We altered now.
Okay, so I guess Friday's paper will be effective.
I signed it.
But I tell you what,
Thank you.
I love the simplicity of the
I know I have met her.
She's supposed to be helping.
I says you got it.
Definitely coming down.
Honey. I mean, when I say honey, I'm talking sweet.
I came back, but you
I'm under that cat head. I'm under that cat head. I tell you what, I tasted that.
they went.
I said, that's made from the shells. Purple mold.
got the money.
Okay.
You won't next year, so do it now.
Okay.
Getting a call from Marcus Saturday morning in Pennsylvania. Just about stepped on the side of the field. I'm looking forward to the next 2 afternoons.
I can't say that I am either.
Flowers will be available for Monday.
Good afternoon, everybody. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. Yes, I just couldn't wait for you to sashay on down this aisle.
I'll observe it.
I can't wait to see green.
What game are you playing? How am I supposed to miss it? Oh, that's. Oh, okay. Actually, this morning. Actually, this morning, I think. I don't think they gave me.
I was really glad I went to bed because I would have been up. I think I could do two tomorrow too.
How you doing? Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call to order the Shreveport City Council's Property Standards meeting. Opening comments will come from myself, and at this point, I don't have any. Are there any public comments? Come on up here, Ms. Glover. Let me see you in your shirt. Good afternoon. I can't hear you. We can't. No. Do you know why her mic is not working? Let's see. We won last night.
Y'all play
Or
tonight.
are we playing or something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
y'all play
we-
tonight.
Against the defending champions.
Green team.
Yeah, I play tonight. See, say something, Ms. Glover. They have the meeting rolling? They have the meeting rolling? Okay.
Wait, a time.
This IT department got on my nerves.
Yeah.
Not working. Nothing still. I don't get that part. I bet you are. You don't have any comments? Sit on down. Sit down.
You want to see a jersey? We see it.
But just, if you say so. I'm gonna have on a Saints jersey. It'll be number 53. My nephew plays for the Saints. Only time I'm gonna wear a Saints jersey. While we're waiting on the mics, I want to make a motion to move on the approval of the minutes from June 24th meeting. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so we're gonna move to agenda items. I'm gonna get an update on the apartment complex.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
your staff was not in the room for that
Oh,
vote.
I forgot, Ms.
So,
Jackie, so
but
we'll
I'll-
have to wait. Okay. Okay. We're waiting on Councilwoman. Okay. Check and wait on Councilwoman. Wait on Councilwoman. Okay. Property Standards Committee meeting is now being called to order. We have opening comments from the chair. If you have your cell phones, and I'm gonna ask you to place them on silent. Are there any public comments? If none, we'll move to the approval of the minutes. So I need approval of the June 24th, 2024 minutes.
Second.
Second, it's been moved in second. All in favor, vote yes.
Aye.
All opposed? So that passes. Agenda items, we want to get an update on the apartment complexes. Mr. Green, Mr. Attorney Edwards, you give us a status report as to where we are.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
All right. So regarding the several multi-unit apartment complexes that have been giving us issues over the last several years, the general trend here is that those properties that have had the involvement of the lender have made some progress, with the best of those being the lender for the Jolie Apartments at 1017 Quail Creek Road. Corvest and Tri-Guild are the names of the companies that are involved in that property. But there's been a direct relationship between the progress in those apartment complexes and the involvement of the lender. To the extent that the lender or the owner has not been actively engaged with the city of Shreveport, we've had worse and worse results. So I'm going to go through a number of these. We're going to talk about 7 in total, the first being the Jolie Apartments. We've given some sporadic updates over the course of the last several months regarding the Jolie Apartments, but that one has been the most successful. They have secured the property with a Knox box so that only they can enter and exit the property, the keeper of that property. The city and fire prevention have gone through. We've done sweeps. We've made sure that there aren't squatters there to the extent that we can prevent that. And back in July, I think it was, yes, on July 29th, they executed an affidavit attesting to the fact that that SPD has the authority to arrest any trespassers on the property. So there's no continuing need for an emergency declaration at the Jolie Apartments. As I said, they secured the property. They're also looking into their renovation plan, which is right now pending financing. That's the stage that they are at. They've secured the property. They've signed the affidavit. They have a plan for the renovation, but they are trying to secure the financing for that plan. Next is the Woodlawn Terrace Apartments at 734 West 64th Street. I'm sorry. Director Green, do you want to talk at all about the Jolie before I move on?
No, we have a meeting with them, I believe it's Thursday, right? Oh, excuse me. Say again? Every other Thursday. So next Thursday, we'll have a meeting with them, and they're supposed to discuss the financing.
Right. Right. We've scheduled them for recurring Zoom calls every other Thursday, and that's how we've been getting our updates from them. Okay, so Woodlawn Terrace Apartments.
Attorney Edwards.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Talaferro, you wanted to know what time those meetings were?
I would like to know if it would be possible if I could just be included in that Zoom.
We'll just attach you it'll be an email.
Okay, you're welcome.
Woodlawn Terrace Apartments at 734 West 68th Street. So this one is the only one that we've had that actually went through the tax sale process, but it ended up in the possession of one of the investors in the property ahead of the tax sale. So it's sort of an interesting situation. They do have a keeper appointed, and as of, I think it was this weekend, as of today, this weekend, the owners have begun cleanup of the premises, including gathering of tires, and stacking them in centralized locations. Dumpsters were brought on site for trash and debris. Work has yet to begin on the interiors as they're still going through the permitting process. It does not look like the entrances have been secured yet, but we do not believe there are any squatters there at this time at the Woodlawn Terrace Apartments. And this one it's taken them a while, YM Capital, it's taken them a while to get active on this property, but they are starting to clean it up as of the month of October. Anything on that one?
As far as the exterior of the structures around the apartments, they have pretty much completed the 90% of it. What's left is the tires. They have stacked the tires, and they're going to get rid of them themselves. They do have the dumpsters on site. The last time we were there, we didn't see anyone on the property or anyone coming through the property. They do communicate with the inspector for that area, and after talking with Tanner, I'm going to give them a call and ask them to secure both gates.
Okay.
So that, to assure that no one is going through the properties.
Okay, next is Oak Meadows Apartments at 1901 Centenary Boulevard. There, the lender Newbridge Commercial Lending and SVN Oak Realty Advisors we've been working with them on the rehabilitation. Unfortunately, they have, it looks like they've had some issues. It looks like their assessment might be that it's best to sell it. They're definitely still interested in hearing offers from potential buyers. They have a potential buyer that is interested in investing approximately $40,000 per unit to fix the property and keep it in commerce. We got a letter of intent from Oak Realty on July 3rd of 2024. That one, though, is slow moving, and they were not being particularly active when it comes to remediating the property. So we just recently, Property Standards recently went out there and issued some updated citations on 1901 Centenary. We've also been speaking with them about some of their other issues, including their outstanding water bill. And so this one has not been as we have not seen as much progress at 1901 Centenary Boulevard as we have at the others. And so we've recently gone back to some of the more punitive measures that we have available.
I think they have reached out to Tanner, and they do have contractors that they're wishing to use for the cleanup. So I think there's an issue of just putting everything together with the money, and they do want to meet with the SPD to go through to be able to secure the properties. I don't know how long ago that was. Was it recent? Last week. So they're interested in having SPD go through with them so that they can get started.
That's from the owner?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we have a timeline on that? Obviously, because you drive by there and it's just filthy.
No,
So we don't have a timeline on that. We're going to ask the SPD to come in and actually do it.
not
I
yet.
guess if they're going to do a building search,
Yes.
then that'll take a while.
But as soon as we do, we'll let you know.
Is it necessary that we have SPD do it, or can we have the marshals do it as well? Can we actually ask an another assisting agency to do that? Since it's just a security measure.
I'm sure you can. You would probably have more with SPD, but I'm sure city marshals can be asked.
Manpower and availability, then that would probably be an overtime issue. It wouldn't be an on-duty issue.
In part because of the success of, well, I don't want to call it success, but in part because of the experience that SPD has had recently doing these sweeps, we'll make sure that SPD is available to do it, as opposed to kind of starting from scratch with the city marshal's office. But we'll make sure that we get that done.
Thank you.
So, okay, so that leaves the 4 Amar Shreveport Holdings properties, which are 1620 Fullerton, which is Villa Norte, 7210 Bernstein, which is
Linwood Homes.
Linwood Homes, 8040 Line Avenue, which is the Pines, and 1674 David Rains, which is Forest Oak. So those 4 properties we met with on October 27th. City officials met with JP Valdez with Selecta Homes. Selecta Homes is in conversation with Amor Shreveport Holdings directly for the potential purchase of that property. Property standards, fire prevention, and certain other groups. City Attorney's Office met with JP Valdez and his team at 7210 Bernstein to go through and get an idea of what needed to be done in order to bring these buildings back into commerce. Mr. Valdez shared that they would need somewhere between 30 and 45 days to assess all the complexes and determine the cost of renovations before they move forward. They were going to prepare a plan. What they really want from us is they want us to approve their plan, which obviously we cannot do. But they want to provide a plan for renovation to bring the properties back into commerce. And what they want us to do is once we've seen the plan, if we say, yes, that will be sufficient to satisfy the city of Shreveport, they would then move towards the final stage, which is going ahead and completing the purchase of the property, of the 4 properties. What they want to do is then hopefully close on the sale of all 4 of those properties by the end of the year and move forward with their renovation plan. They asked for these 45 days starting, I think, September 27th. So we don't have the plan yet from them regarding what renovations they want to undertake and how to do so. But that's really what they want to do. They want to be able to provide us with the plan. We take a look at it, and that's one of the reasons why why Mr. Green and his team met with them, was to basically give them an idea of all the things that need to get done. At all times, we've been clear that what we need is really 3 things. We need, first and foremost, that you secure the properties. Secondly, that you give us a renovation plan that lets us know what your what you plan to do in order to get this done. And then thirdly, that you provide, some housing using these units going forward. And so they, we had these conversations with them on the 27th, and there were discussions about securing the properties using Knox boxes. There will be discussions about additional sweeps, because since the expiration of the executive order, we don't really know whether or not squatters have repopulated the property. So there's going to have to be a discussion potentially about additional sweeps. But what we're wanting right now is a plan from Selecta Homes, and once we get that plan, we'll be able to take next steps.
You have any updates? You have any updates from Selecta Homes?
No. When we did meet them, we told them about the cleanliness also, that they would have to do that. And while they're waiting for their permitting and whatnot, you can go ahead on and do that first. That and securing were the 2 big things that we said that they needed to focus on while they were waiting on permits and whatnot. From the September date, they should be able to start on the cleanup process of it while they're waiting for the rest of it. They did say that they had about 20 plus crews that would be working at one time. And they'll have a lot of local work also. So that's pretty much where we are on it.
So the last conversation that you all had with them was September 27th? Mm-hmm. And so we haven't heard anything back from them since this time?
No. The 45 days will basically start roughly from that September 27th.
But they haven't submitted a plan?
No, not yet. They can't actually say that they have to get that from the architect. All of that has to be submitted to permits and the state and the city local fire marshal.
So what I'm requesting from you all is to contact them and see where they are.
Okay,
Because just as though you all are having the same conversations with the Jolie, and you know exactly what's happening with them every other Thursday, then we need to know what's going on with them as well.
I'll try to have you something for council tomorrow.
Okay. The biggest concern for me, since these are some of the largest complexes in our city, is the look and the eyesores that are in the community, because the council moved to, with demolition on these said properties. And so if they have a plan, then they need to get the plan to us. When they plan to clean it up, I do know that there are several tires and everything at the David Rains location. So I'm getting calls about that all the time, along with the overgrowth. Same thing that I could look at, in looking at Linwood Homes. I haven't seen the pines. Same thing with Villa Norte. So I like to know what their timeline is. And as soon as you get that, then we can proceed from there. But they definitely need to move on this so we can get these eyesores out of our community.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Bulk pickup in the city. Anybody from Public Works?
I can help them while they come up. We took proposals after you all passed some legislation earlier in the year. We got a number of responses, and from what, Stephen, if I stray too far, let me know, but what I recall was that in order to do what you had asked to be considered was going to cost somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000. And at the time, we did not have the funds. We thought we'd try to talk to you during budget and see what you thought about how we might proceed, or if we might proceed. But that's where we are. We have not officially accepted or rejected those proposals, and we got enough good ones where, you know, we would have had pretty good contractors, I think, to go out and take a shot at it. It's just money we didn't have at the time.
So what are we doing in the interim?
I'm sorry,
What are we doing in the interim?
doing whatever Chris can. You can speak about that.
Currently, we're still doing sweeps. We do Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday and Friday. We try to do the routes that we're on. But currently, the things we're having a little bit of problems with is like whenever property standards find somebody like on the vacant lots, like currently on Hardy, DeSoto, and Fulton, that takes us like a whole half a day or something. So when we go back on vacant lots, it's be like on a weekend, on a Saturday or Wednesday, and it ties a lot more resources. So those type things, when they're pretty big, we try to schedule them for a weekend. The people want us to do them right then and there, but we can't, we can't tie up all our resources on vacant lots on most days. So we try to schedule those for the Wednesdays, which we don't have pickups, and on Saturdays. So when there's like a vacant lot or a huge pickup, we try to get those as quick as we can. But the rest of them, we try to do them on our regular pickup days, and we trying to do sweeps. Like right now, we including this Saturday we brought in the Packers, and we are including those guys also in pickups to try to keep up and try to catch up some.
How is the system going, what you all have as far as the vacant lots are concerned? Because I know you said you're trying to get them when you can.
Well, they call them in, as sometimes they don't tell us they're vacant lots, and when we go out there and if it's huge, we have to schedule, like for a weekend. Like they currently told me like Hardy, it's it's astronomical amount. So we probably be out there either this Wednesday or Saturday. If it's something that's going to take us, about 3-4 a couple of hours, we'll schedule those. Once we find out how bad they are, we'll schedule those for days that we don't have anything on a Wednesday or Saturday. But normally we don't really know how bad it is until we go. When people call them in, they just tell us a bulk pickup, and we don't know how bad it is until we actually go out there and look.
Okay.
Councilwoman.
Mr. Wilder, right now looking, and I've spoke to you recently, or just someone in your department about bulk pickup. I can ride in one neighborhood and find 50 bulk pickups in one neighborhood, just rolling around the city. What I'm seeing is, I guess, from the weather, the trees falling. It's a lot of limbs. It's a lot of big tree trunks. So what can we do to help?
Now it depends too. A lot of that stuff, when they're big tree trunks and stuff, we don't normally pick up those because those are bigger than something that we can handle. What we try to do when we go in the neighborhood, and what we do now is when we do get in a neighborhood, we are trying to do the whole neighborhood. But sometimes when we go in the neighborhood, we clean it up, we sweep it, and before we can get out of the neighborhood and move to the next one, we have to, we go right back.
Right. So I think the problem is we don't have a resolve. Mr. Dark, and I think that's what Councilman Green was asking. If you roll anywhere in the city, it's these big trees that have fallen, it's the tree trunks. Who responsibility is this?
Well, Stephen, what's the biggest thing y'all can get with the knuckle boom equipment you have? I think that's,
Now, normally when we do that, streets and drainage helps out a lot with the big tree trunks. Streets and drainage does a lot of that with the dump trucks. Because most of our stuff we use trailers. But when it's really big like that, streets and drainage helps out. And sometimes we thought that our property standards, so they can help us, they help us too. But when they're real big, contractors who cut them should get them. But if they get big, we ask streets and drainage to come out and, if it's something that we can't handle. Because a lot of them, if you notice, they're huge.
They're huge,
And
yes.
we can't move them,
Right.
because all we have is really right now is the trailers.
Right. And a lot of the problem is a lot of vacant lots that the city own, those trees are actually falling from some of those vacant lots into other neighbors' yards.
Right.
And that's why sometimes when we'll send over emails saying, hey, Ms. Jones has a tree that's leaning on her property that we own, and then we'll say, oh, we can't cut it. But then once it damaged her property, it's another situation. So for me, it's jumping in front of it before it becomes a situation like we have now. Like right now, in my district, the whole district is full of trees everywhere. It's full of trash. We still have these people flipping homes, putting all of this stuff to the street that they should be maintaining on their own, dumping. But if we don't do anything and cite them, nothing's going to happen. So we've been talking about this now for 2 years, but I don't see anything moving with it.
What is the process, Mr. Dark, when there are trees on vacant lots that the city owns and they are leaning in in another property owner's yard? What's that process?
I hope one of you has it's generally gonna be a streets and drainage issue, if somebody points it out.
Yeah, if somebody
Because
calls,
of the
normally
size of-
streets cuts them down.
Okay,
And then if they cut them down, they remove them.
okay. So if it's on a city lot and the tree is on the limbs, or the tree itself leaning, and another person's yard are falling in, then it's our responsibility to cut it,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, and dispose of it.
Yes, ma'am.
And hopefully cut it small enough where you can actually pick it up.
Yeah. And like I said, if streets and drainage cut it, normally they remove it also.
Because they have the biggest knuckle boom anybody's got.
And they also have the dump trucks, which can hold the trunks.
How many knuckle booms do we have?
Currently, I think we have 6.
How many you got, Terrence?
Don't have any.
Don't you have one ordered, or? Yeah, we have one ordered for them, but they don't have one.
Streets and drainage, I think they have 2 if both of them are working. And we got a couple on order also. I think Streets got 2 of them, 1 on order also.
Yeah, bulk pickups is a big deal for us in the inner city. So and I'm pretty sure that you all are seeing plenty of illegal dumping sites. So are you all having that conversation with SPD about these illegal dumping sites? Because
Normally, if we do, sometime when we do, we call in the community officer, or we let them know. Either sometime we get with permits, and we see if we can get it cited. Sooner or later, we still wind up cleaning it. But it just, like I said, depends on how big it is and how long it takes us.
we're still gonna have to have a coordinated effort for this.
Right.
Because still, I know we've allocated money for this, and it's still not happening. We're still running into it and looking at all this in certain sections of the city. So we're going to find a way to make this work with you all, or streets and drainage, however it is that y'all divvy up the departments, along with SPD, as we identify the illegal dumping sites that you all are clearly aware of, because I can name at least 25 in my district for sure that I know are illegal dumping sites. So we can try to really catch these people that's doing that to take their workload off of there. And then identify a way if we have to go over here and condense our bulk pickup list, because I don't think that's been updated for quite a bit, and see how we can also catch some of these contractors that are allowing us to do their work. So some way or another, we're gonna have to have a coordinated effort in doing that. Right. Yes, sir. Okay, we'll get back up with you. Yes, sir.
I'd like to tag
Okay.
off of that. I mean, I've actually paid visits to some of my residents who have cut serious trees down and placed them on the curb thinking we're gonna grab them at some point. And I can understand if it's storm related, that, you know, we may jump in and do that. I have a real issue, and I tell them, I have an issue with them. I just don't want that tree anymore, and there's nothing wrong with that tree. I just choose not to have it, and I'm putting it on the curb because I don't
Right.
wanna pay, you know, the contractor to remove it. Now, I don't know what the system will be, but it seems to me that if I can get a receipt from the tree company or something saying that's a perfectly healthy tree and they chose to remove it, they
Correct.
should be on the hook for
To
removing it
dispose it.
and not saying the city's gonna do it.
I agree.
I don't have the solution to all that. That was just something that I'm concerned about in the Broadmoor area, because if I have a perfectly healthy tree, I'm just tired of it, I'm putting it on the curb, and we all know the trunk size of those. And I think it's unfair, it's not good business, and it's kind of taking advantage of the city, you know, to remove their trash, so to speak.
I agree.
And I understand if it's storm related, that's a different story. But if I choose to remove my own tree, then I choose to remove the complete tree, you know, from the curb,
Yes.
you know. And I think a lot of concerns that I have is people don't get the removal process. They don't know who to call.
Right.
So they'll just stack it out there, and I'm cruising around just like a lot of my fellow council is doing. Is we see it, we call it in, because we believe that just they don't have a number, they just don't know who to call.
Right.
And that's what happens on some of them too. When they do it, they put it out and they think we just gonna get it.
Right.
And sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. But if they don't call it in, by the time they call it in, or by the time it sits out there a few weeks, then they call y'all and say we didn't pick it up. And if they don't call us and they'll put it in the system, a lot of times, some of my guys will pass by and they'll see it. And we supposed, when we go through, the supervisors are supposed to kind of look at it and call it, put it into the bulk system. But sometimes it sits out there for weeks before we are notified. And by the time if we don't pick it up, then they call one of y'all and tell us, hey, this bulk has been in my yard for a month and blah, blah, blah. And it has, you know, to a degree. Sometimes when we do sweeps, we catch it. But if they don't tell us, sometimes we miss it or we just don't get it. And it keeps backing up because a lot of people call us for stuff that's not necessarily bulk. And we spend a lot of time picking up, you know, smaller piles and stuff like that. And then the bulk stuff sits. And, you know, but like I said, we got the system, and when they do call it in, we try to get to it as fast as we can.
And I'm glad that you brought up the communication between our regular sanitation crews, that they actively report. I would hope they do.
Right.
If they see something that requires that kind of a service, that they're asking you, is this on the list?
Yeah.
And if it's not on the list, maybe we should put it on the list.
Right.
You know, instead of us just happenstance, you know, seeing it or tripping over it.
That's what we're asking our supervisors to communicate. They're supposed to be riding around, following the routes, and when they see it, they're supposed to communicate it back to the bulk to say that, hey, these piles will give us a list. These piles are too big for us to pick up. So we're trying to get a little better about that
But I
also.
understand the supervisor aspect of it. I would take it one step further and say the people that are actually riding the truck are the eyes and ears for us on the
They-
ground. I mean, you know, if you want to know what's going on in sanitation, ride the trash truck. So I would challenge them or you or whomever, to say the driver or someone has a responsibility to call it in, take a note, turn it in today, and say, check to make sure this is or not on the list.
We can work on that.
Okay, thanks.
Terrence, you had a question?
Councilman Brooks.
Oh,
Okay.
While we're all here, I want to go back one subject. The trees on empty lots, the leaning trees I think you referred to, do we have to wait till they fall to cut them down and remove them, or can we cut them down while they're still standing?
If they're a danger and they call them in, Streets and Drainage try to schedule them and get to them before they fall. If they're looking like they're going to fall in, normally if they're going to fall in the right of way, fall and cause a problem. If the homeowner calls, Streets and Drainage is supposed to go out there and check them out before they fall, and they would actually cut them.
I'm pretty sure this homeowner has called a lot. Now, a adjudicated lot is not necessarily owned by the city, correct, Attorney Edwards?
That's correct.
Okay, so if it's an adjudicated lot, it's not owned by the city, we cannot cut the tree down.
Well, it depends on, are we just talking about leaning towards
It's
the
leaning
street?
towards someone's house.
Okay, if it's leaning towards someone's house and we have a reason to believe that that there's an issue, yes, we can cut it down.
Okay.
Okay,
Mr.
I'll get
Green?
this. Who do I reach out to with the specifics on the address?
Streets and drainage.
Reach out to us, Jarvis, Morgan, or me, I'm Stephen Therese.
Okay, I'll reach out. I have Jarvis's number. Thank you.
Ms. Green?
Yes. And going back to one of the things that Councilman Talaferro was talking about with the trees, that people are just putting out on the street, between Jarvis, myself, Mr. Morgan. I know just Friday I talked to Jarvis about enforcing what we do have on the books to be able to tell them, hey, either you get rid of this, there are ways to find them through streets and drainage. The ordinance is there, and each day will constitute a new fine if they don't do it. It's a lot quicker than our system. And so, but we're gonna work it together
Okay.
to help get some of this stuff cleaned up. We just need to sit down and start moving forward with it.
You all need to tell us what's gonna make it easier for you all. That's what we wanna know. We
Well,
wanna know too, what's gonna make it easier for you all? If there are any other suggestions, if we need to look at the ordinances, if we need to tweak them, then you all need to tell us that, because you all are on the front line doing this. So we're trying to find the way that is going to make it conducive for you all, because we always know that the needs change. And so we want to be able to do that where we're not putting additional, pressure on you. So we're trying to find what is the best system to be able to use, and if we need to tweak it along the way, then we tweak it along the way. But if those ordinances that you all look at, you know that you are working with it, we need to update that, then let us know that so we can turn around and do that as well.
I think one of the biggest things that we all deal with on the cruise is manpower,
Okay?
and that's across the board.
So I think with that, and plus, there's gonna have to be probably a PR campaign on our end, on the city's end, and telling them what can be done with bulk, what you should put out there, what you should, and it's something that's probably gonna need to be continuous.
Yes. One of the biggest problems that we see, they see, is a lot of times the trash is not even containerized.
Right.
It's literally just dumped on the street. And that's one of the biggest issues that we have.
Okay. All right. Okay. So don't leave, Mr. Green. Thank you all. Demolitions and Environmental Court update. How we doing?
Say again?
Demolitions and Environmental Court.
Okay. Well, I did not bring environmental court specifically.
Okay.
I actually brought the numbers for where we are as of right now, as a total.
Okay.
Care of premise cleanups, we have completed 510 for this year. We've spent $878,000, 274. We have completed 174 demolitions. We have spent $872,000, $484.20. Weed abatements, we have cut 6,275 lots, and we have spent $385,179.64. I will put together our exact environmental court numbers for you, and I can send out an email to all of you between today and council tomorrow.
Okay. I think Ms. Rhonda does pretty good of going in and updating us on the process of where we are for environmental court. So tell her I said thank you, for sure. She does a good job of letting us know by district where we are, what we're dealing with within the court system, because I think we have one this week.
You say we have
Environmental court?
Yes.
Okay.
And I do believe we're going to be going to a more strenuous schedule for environmental court.
Okay.
I think that is coming very soon.
Yeah, I can address that. One of the proposals that we have, at one point, the environmental court heard things in the first instance, not just appeals. And we're looking at moving back to that process. Now they hear only appeals, so what happens is a lot of properties end up with no response and therefore no compliance, and we'd like to reverse that.
Vacant properties downtown. Where are we with that?
I'm expecting today or tomorrow some suggestions from some of the stakeholders so that we can prepare a set of amendments to the ordinance that's already in front of you and hopefully have those ready to go by your next council meeting on the 22nd.
Is there anything else? All right, this meeting is adjourned.
Oh, come on, John, you should be faster than that, man.
I'm old and slow. How about that? I'm the oldest person in the world.
No, you're not. How old?
76.
You probably are then, unless John's older than you.
Be nice.